Hi guys, this is Sean from 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗲𝗄 Property. Today's video will be a battle between two upcoming launches in the north, Springleaf Residence, which is right next to Springleaf MRT, as well as Canberra Crescent Residences, which is about 10 minutes walk to Canberra MRT. There is one development I will put my money on, but the other one I will walk far away from. Follow me on this journey to find out which project is the true king of the north. In case you are not familiar, I use my IPA framework to guide my clients in evaluating a development holistically based on these 5 factors. Number 1, location and amenities. Number 2, facilities and quality. Number 3, demand versus supply in the area. Number 4, pricing versus surrounding developments. And finally, layout. And an overall score will be given at the end. Feel free to check out my previous video at the top right hand corner to see how I use the IPA framework to evaluate a project like 𝗵𝗵𝗃𝗃. By the way, I've also compiled a list of all the balanced new launch inventory with their respective price range. If you would like to have a copy of the PDF, just click on the link in the description below and I'll be happy to send it across. Alright, first up, let's evaluate the location of both developments. Let's be honest, both locations are not the most convenient. When you mention Springleaf, most people can only think of Springleaf Prata. And for me, a bit more nostalgic because I was a medic and I spent a few months training in Nee Soon Camp not too far away. But the saving grace is Springleaf Residence is just a mere 2 minutes walk fully sheltered to Springleaf MRT on the Thomson East Coast line. If you are travelling to Orchard or Shenton Way, it will only take you 25 and 34 minutes respectively without having to change lines. Other than Prata, you also have access to a whole stretch of eateries right across the road, such as the 24 Hours Hans, Dim Sum, Mookata, 7-Eleven, Ampang Yong Tau Fu, and so many more. On top of that, I feel the biggest attraction of the Springleaf estate is its proximity to nature as well as its low density and peaceful environment. If you look at the map, as long as your unit is facing outwards, you'll be looking into the vast greenery all around you. If you are situated on a higher floor, you can also get a very nice panoramic view of the Upper Seletar Reservoir and 𝗺𝗵𝗃𝗲𝗄 Reservoir. Not many places in Singapore can offer you this kind of views. For those that enjoy evening walks, the Springleaf Nature Park is just a short walk away. For those of you who drive, Springleaf Residence is also easily accessible to SLE and CTE. It is also situated very near to the future North-South corridor, which will cut short your journey to town. Overall, I can see why there will still be a number of buyers that will be drawn to such a location, even though some people say Springleaf is ulu. For that, I'm going to give it a score of 7 out of 10. Coming to CCR, I mean Canberra Crescent Residences and not the core central region. It is situated about 10 minutes walk to Canberra MRT. So what can you expect around your neighbourhood? You have Bukit Canberra with a hawker centre and active FG Sports Hall about 10 minutes walk away. Canberra Plaza with NTUC supermarket, McDonald's, food court and etc. is within a 10 minutes walk as well. You also get North Point City Mall with everything you possibly need just one MRT stop away. Basically, you're in a very heartland area with all the basic amenities. However, I feel like you're not far from a lot of things, but not exactly near anything either. There's also nothing unique about this estate that might attract buyers that are not currently staying in this area. Drivers will also understand that it will take about 15 minutes just to reach the nearest expressway. So unfortunately, I'm going to give it a pretty low score of 5 out of 10 for location and amenities. Next up, let's evaluate the facilities and quality at Springleaf Residence. Developed by 𝗂𝗂𝗯𝗀𝗃𝗃 Land and Hong Leong with an extensive track record, you can be assured that there is a certain level of quality and standard. If I reference to how they did up their show flat at 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃 Mansion, then I believe the finishing will be pretty decent as well. Sitting on a massive 345,000 square feet of land with 941 units, residents will get to enjoy a pretty low land density of 366 square feet per unit. The land density is also lower compared to most other developments at Lentor, except for Lentor Mansion and Lentoria, which doesn't have full condo facilities. This means that there is more room for large landscaping, wide open spaces for you and your family to wind down and relax. Facilities-wise is also pretty comprehensive. You are going to get a tennis court, half basketball court, multiple function rooms, gym, a 50-meter lap pool, sky terrace in all blocks for you to enjoy the greenery view, a massive lawn and even a running track within the development. The block-to-block distance is also pretty comfortable with some blocks as far as 45 to 73 meters apart. Overall, I'm going to give it a pretty high score of 8.5 out of 10. However, the dilemma will come if you want to go for the premium unblocked views. That's because for the units facing northwest, you get a nice view of the Upper Seletar Reservoir. However, at the same time, you'll be getting the afternoon sun. For the units facing south, you get a continuous unblocked view of the Central Catchment Nature Reserve, but at the same time, you'll be getting the road noise from Seletar Expressway. Given these concerns, should you be going for the inward-facing units instead? As shared over a case study in my previous video, choosing the right or wrong unit can mean a difference of more than $100,000 in profits. There are many factors such as entry price, facing, layout, and floor level to consider concurrently. And that's why it's very important to go in with a proper game plan and with someone that is experienced to analyze clearly under pressure. If you'd like to find out and discuss more about my strategies for unit selection, feel free to reach out to me at 94515625 and I'll be happy to advise further. Coming to Canberra Crescent Residences, it is jointly developed by King Leong and 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗲 Limited with a total of 376 residential units. Even though both developers are more known for their smaller scale projects, but King Leong has actually partnered with UOL for a number of high-profile developments such as Principal Garden and Amo Residence. In terms of facilities, you'll be getting the standard 50 meter slab pool, family pool, kids pool, 2 function rooms, a few barbecue pits, and a gym. You also get a sky garden spanning across Block 55 and 57. But unfortunately, no tennis court, so we can't say that this is a full condo facilities development. In terms of views, you'll be surrounded by mainly high-rise HDBs. The good thing is there's a certain buffer to the HDBs given that there are also the low-rise landed and school in between, so you won't feel so claustrophobic. On balance, I would say that this is a pretty standard development and hence I'll give it a score of 7 out of 10. Next up, let's look at demand versus supply. Usually I will compare the demand ratio of a few surrounding developments to measure how strong the demand is. A high demand ratio will suggest that there is strong demand in the area because there are more units that have already been transacted recently compared to the number of units that are currently still available in the market. However, given that there are not a lot of comparable developments in the Springleaf area, the closest benchmark I can find is for the Estuary, which is a good-sized development with 608 units, about 10 minutes walk to Khatib MRT, and already 17 years into the lease. And yet, we are seeing very strong demand ratios across the board for 2-bedders, 3-bedders, and 4-bedders. Given that Springleaf Residence is brand new, doorstep to MRT and amenities with close proximity to nature, I have confidence that it is able to attract demand from these 3 groups of buyers. Number 1, HDB upgraders in the north and northeast. Number 2, landed owners who are staying nearby and are looking to right-size their property. And number 3, young buyers who want to stay near the MRT but do not want to overstretch themselves. There is, however, one key concern that I have, which is the lack of primary schools within not just 1 km but a 2 km radius. The saving grace is that most of the schools in the area, with the exception of St. Nick's and Aitong, should be able to get in without balloting in Phase 2C. So whether you are within 1 km or 2 km doesn't make too much of a difference. With regard to supply, I think one main concern that buyers will have with Springleaf is its proximity to Lentor, which has a total of 6 new launches to date. To be honest, I was initially very worried that supply will more than outweigh demand in the area. But looking at the current balance units across all 6 developments, actually there's nothing much left in the market, only a handful of units that are still unsold. That means the take-up rate is actually very strong in the area. On top of that, Springleaf residents will only obtain TOP a few years after most of the Lentor developments obtain TOP, and usually we will see the highest injection of supply during the TOP stage where many first-hand owners are looking to make the flip. By the time it comes to 2029, the supply would have dwindled down already, and Springleaf residents can then ride on the wave of higher transacted prices in Lentor to be resold to the next buyer. On balance, I'll give a demand versus supply score of 7.5 out of 10 for Springleaf residents. Coming to the demand versus supply for Canberra Crescent Residences, I calculated the demand and supply ratios based on a few comparable developments in the area, namely the Water Gardens, the Commodore, the Brownstone, and the Visionaire. For the 2-bedders, you can see that the overall demand and supply ratio is pretty weak, only scoring 1 point respectively. This is due to the large number of units on sale at Water Gardens and Commodore as they just obtained TOP not too long ago. My guess is that the demand for small units in the area will remain weak, given that this is more of a heartland area that usually attracts bigger families. For the 3-bedders, despite the weak demand and supply ratios at Water Gardens and Commodore, it is being counterbalanced by the strong numbers at Brownstone and Visionaire. For the 4-bedders, it is a similar story as well, so this gives me more assurance that the demand and supply ratios for the 3 and 4-bedders at Water Gardens and Commodore will eventually improve over time. Due to its affordability, Canberra will likely still attract many HDB upgraders that are currently staying in Woodlands, Yishun, and Canberra itself. On balance, I'll only give a demand versus supply score of 6.5 out of 10 for Canberra Crescent residences, mainly due to the weaker numbers for the smaller units. By the way, I hope you have found the above information useful so far. If so, I would really appreciate if you can help me by clicking on the like button and subscribing to my channel. A few of my YouTube viewers have also reached out to me in person, and I'm glad I was able to advise them. If you also have burning questions, don't be shy. Feel free to contact me on WhatsApp at 94515625 and I'll be happy to explain further. Alright, back to the video. Next up, let's evaluate Springleaf Residence's pricing versus its closest neighbours at 𝗺𝗃𝗃. We don't have the official indicative prices from developer yet, but word on the ground is that we are looking at an average price of around 2,100 PSF. Next, I put out the average PSF of all the existing launches in 𝗺𝗃𝗃 in chronological order, with 𝗺𝗃𝗃 Central Residences being the most recent launch and 𝗺𝗃𝗃 Modern being the earliest. Following that, I have to adjust the average PSF of the developments that are not GFA harmonized upwards by 6% to take into account the harmonization effect. Finally, taking Springleaf Residence's pricing of 2,100 PSF as a benchmark, I calculated what is its price gap versus the other developments. You can see very clearly that Springleaf Residence will be selling at a 100 to 200 PSF discount versus all the other 𝗺𝗃𝗃 launches, even though it is the newest of them all. I think that this is a pretty fair price considering that Springleaf Residence is one MRT stop away and it is not within 1 kilometer of 𝗃𝗵𝗃𝗃 Cenix, unlike some of the 𝗺𝗃𝗃 developments. On top of that, Springleaf Residence will have a first mover advantage versus the Upper Thomson Road Parcel A plot right next to it. Some of you might be concerned as to how come there were no bids for this plot of land when it was released for sale in 2024. That's because URA included a requirement to build long-term stay service apartments within the development. However, being a new initiative and in a location not known to attract expats to stay in such service apartments, no developers dare to take this risk. The good thing is, URA has since relaunched this plot of land for sale and no longer made it a requirement to have such service apartments. My guess is being an integrated development with Springleaf MRT and with commercial shops on the first story, it will likely end up with a higher land price than Springleaf Residence. In addition, there are also huge plots of land zoned residential around Tagore. This wouldn't be so soon because they are still subject to detailed planning, but it will help in the future transformation of the area in time to come. Considering the above, I'm going to give a score of 7 out of 10 for Springleaf Residence's pricing. Likewise for Canberra Crescent Residences, I put out the average PSF of its surrounding developments, adjusted upwards by 6% to take into account the harmonization effect, and calculated what is Canberra Crescent's premium if it were to launch at an average price of 2,050 PSF. After taking into account their difference in age, you can see that Canberra Crescent is going at a pretty high premium versus its surrounding neighbours. This is especially so if you compare with the new ECs such as Provence Residence and Park Canberra, which will launch at a much lower PSF. Come 2029, when Canberra Crescent Residences obtain TOP, it will be competing head-on with Provence and Park Canberra EC, which would have just obtained their MOP and hence eligible to resell. All I can say is good luck to Canberra Crescent and congratulations to my friends and clients at the two ECs. For that, I'm only going to give it a score of 6 out of 10. Finally, coming to layout, let's first take a look at the 2-bed 2-bath. Both comes with a more efficient dumbbell layout with both rooms on either side of the living room, eliminating the need for corridor space. I like Springleaf Residence kitchen more as it is fully tucked into one corner versus Canberra Crescent's kitchen that is still exposed. On the other hand, Canberra Crescent's layout comes with an additional study area which you can use as a small storeroom too. Interestingly, its washer and dryer is placed outside in the balcony, which I guess depends on personal preference whether you like it or not. Overall, I think both layers are pretty decent and I would say on par with each other. Coming to the 3-bed 2-bath, both layers are almost identical. They come with a dry and wet kitchen with windows for ventilation. Their bedrooms are also all pretty decent sized. I like Springleaf Residence Flexi Room more because it is bigger than Canberra Crescent study area. Springleaf Residence living and dining area is also wider with a comfortable width of 3.1 meters. Hence, I'm going to go with Springleaf for this one. Last of all, coming to the 4-bedroom, let's first look at Springleaf Residence's layout. It comes with a proper dry and wet kitchen area. I love the spacious master bedroom that can accommodate a walk-in wardrobe. However, I feel the living and dining space is too cramped for a 4-bedder. In addition, 3 common bedrooms are sharing one bathroom, which definitely is not enough during peak hour. There's one more powder room near the entrance of the house, but I don't think it's enough also. Coming to Canberra Crescent, I like the landscape living and dining layout which allows lots of natural lighting to enter the house. There's an extra study room which can also be used as a helper's room. There's also a junior master with his own ensuite bathroom, and hence only the 2 remaining common rooms will need to share the common bathroom, so no need to queue so long in the morning lah. However, their master bedroom and dry kitchen area is smaller versus Springleaf's 4-bedder, which to me isn't a big deal. On balance, I would say Canberra Crescent has a better 4-bedroom layout. To be honest, both developments have pretty good layouts, so I'll give them both a score of 8 out of 10. Alright, I think you would have guessed my conclusion by now. To me, Springleaf Residence is a clear winner versus Canberra Crescent Residences. It scores 12 in most aspects, and hence I'm going to give it a pretty good score of 7.6 out of 10. On the other hand, I'm not too impressed with Canberra Crescent's location and pricing versus its surrounding developments, and hence I'm only going to give it an overall score of 6.5. Let me know in the comments below if you agree or disagree with my evaluation. And with that, thank you so much for staying till the end. If you'd like to have more first-hand information or my advice on unit selection, feel free to reach out to me at 9451 5625 and I'll be happy to advise further. Once again, I'm Sean and I'll see you soon.